So here we go. This is my complete review of, um, well, Dragon Quest 11. So yeah, this is my complete and total review. I'm going to be getting in depth and in deep, for lack of a better word. This is going to be a little bit different than my normal reviews where I go the good, the bad, the ugly. It's going to be just pros and then cons and then my overall summation, and then we'll be done with the review. So let's get into it after the cut. So the pros won't take that long to get through because, well, believe it or not, Dragon Quest hasn't had the precipitous dip in quality between installments like a lot of other long-running JRPG franchises. Kind of like, let's see, Final Fantasy. So, I mean, while that makes it relatively easy to get through the good things about the game, I don't really have to elaborate that greatly about it because, if you've played one Dragon Quest game, the quality hasn't really changed that much, if you get my drift. For example, the story, like every Dragon Quest game, except for maybe the first one, and maybe the second one, everyone after that, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh one, all of them have relatively good stories, decent characterization, decent combat systems, because Dragon Quest games are stable. If I had to use a graphical chart to show the quality of Dragon Quest games, it's, instead of it being kind of like an elliptical mathematical equation where you have the dip and the rise and the dip and the rise, it would be more of like a small hill, then it levels off again, then it goes down and levels off again, then another small hill. All above the X line, right? So, basically, like, there are no bad mainline Dragon Quest games. It's just like some are better than others. So with that being said, I guess we can get into essentially, what does this mean as a gamer? Why am I talking about this? What's the purpose of me speaking about this? Well, we'll get to that further in the review. So basically, what this game has is, everything that you like about a Dragon Quest game, as I said earlier. Good characters, or at least interesting characters, interesting storyline, pretty graphics, good music, capable battle system. Nothing here is going to really be rocking the boat. Nothing here is really, groundbreaking. But, it's what you want. You want steady, dependable, what you're going to get every time. If the Final Fantasy franchise is a restaurant that every time you go there, the recipe's been changed, right? That's Final Fantasy. Like the menu's changed every time you go there. The menu changes, and sometimes that's a good thing, but most of the time you just feel disappointed. Dragon Quest is the mom and pop hole in the wall diner. You go there, the menu's always the same, okay? But that's what you like. It's dependable. You order the all-American plate. You get your hamburger. You get your fries. You get your pork and beans. You get your falling off the bone pulled pork on the hamburger. You get your 2 slices of American cheese. You get your milkshake. and it's like the quality is always going to be the same every time. Well, that's that's Dragon Quest, right? The quality has stayed the same year in, year out, and that's a good thing. So anything stands out about the game, I would have to say it's the PC port. This is the first time Dragon Quest has been ported to the PC, the mainline game. And it's a pretty good port. Not great. I mean, you have to remember it's a port of a Japanese game from a Japanese company. Japanese ports, by and large, are generally not that good. But for like overall, it's pretty damn good. It's a pretty damn good port. You know, it's kind of a bitch how you have to go and fiddle with some shit in order to specialize things a certain way. But you know, it's pretty good. So, I mean, overall, this game is, you know, has all the qualities of a pretty good RPG, of a pretty good Dragon Quest game and an RPG. Good story, well, a solid story, decent characters, interesting characters. Let's see, what else? Interesting, decent music, interesting villains. Let's see, what else? And solid gameplay. So, I mean, those are the pros. We'll get to the cons after the cut, and I mean, unfortunately, there's a few of them. So here we go with the cons. Now, that you know, the cons, like I said, this is a solid Dragon Quest game. So it's not like, oh my God, all this shit's been failing, or oh my God, this has all just been falling apart. Dragon Quest games typically always have a certain level of quality, no matter what. So, not really surprising. But we can talk about some of the flaws of this particular game. And I'll address them in the form of what some other people have been saying about the game. So some people will say, this is the best Dragon Quest game ever. This is not the best Dragon Quest game ever. It's pretty good, not the best. It is reasonably good. It's a reasonably good Dragon Quest game. Here are some of the flaws or cons with the game. Because there are 8 playable characters, you never really feel that connected to any of them. Even the main character's story is kind of like things are resolved a little bit too quickly, and there's too much of isn't that a coincidence? Things going on here. Also, because there's no class system in the game, you're basically kind of forced to use certain characters. And because certain skills overlap with one another, there's no real impetus to use certain characters. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a flaw, in my humble opinion. For example, certain characters just have no real difference. They just exist just for the sake of existing. You know what I mean? And that kind of brings it down a little bit, in my opinion. Sadly. So, the class system. because you have so many characters and certain skills overlap, which is not a cool thing. It's not cool that there's skills that overlap. You have less incentive to use certain characters. With that also being said, there's also very little reason to use certain characters, as I've reiterated like 3 times now. Another flaw with the game is the commands that you can use in combat are kind of, how can I put this? Certain things have been taken away. For example, in previous Dragon Quest games, like even back to Dragon Quest 6, you could do this boost mechanic, this charge up mechanic. The translation changes throughout the games, but recently it's called pep up, right? And you can use it to boost up your characters. Now, in previous installments, this was, if you were automatically battling, this was something that characters would do automatically. If you weren't auto-battling, it was something they would just do as they were fighting or whatever, or that you could command them to do. Boost, pep up, charge up. And it was a nice little thing that you could control, right? It didn't always work. Sometimes it would fail, but you could use items in order to do this, or gain certain skills that would let your entire party do it. And it was a nice little ability. Now, sadly, this game does not have that ability. You kind of just pep up as time goes on. Or you can find an item later on that lets you do it, but it's just not the same. You know what I mean? That's an ability that was taken away that kind of made the difference as time went on. This is kind of like a more casualized Dragon Quest game, which is the 4th flaw that I've noticed, is that it is a little too damn casual. A little too damn easy, a little too damn overly simplified. So, which leads me to the 5th flaw of this game. The overall story is, while it is interesting, is kind of like there are twists that happen in the game that have no real, no foreshadowing, not even a hint, and some of them are nonsensical, you know? Like, I'm used to, typically in Dragon Quest games, when something happens, there's a reason for it. It's like, okay, well, this happened because of, Y happened because of X. X happened because of Z. A happened because of C, or, B happened because of A. Like, there's cause and effect. In this game, there's events that happen where it's like, where the fuck did that come from? Which kind of brings down the overall gaming experience a little bit. And that, that bothers me a little bit, because, this is an RPG, and, you shouldn't have shit like that happen when you're playing an RPG. At least I don't think you should have things like that happen. Like, when an event happens that changes the world, there should be a reason. When something happens, there should be a reason. It shouldn't just be, well, this happened, it's like, well, I flick this light switch and your car starts up. That's basically what, you know what I mean? That's basically kind of like the sequence of events that have been happening in this game that are kind of like, okay, I didn't see that shit coming at all. And not in a good way. Let's see. The voice acting is okay. It's not as grating as, say, some other Japanese games, but it's not as good as what we had in Dragon Quest 8. Really, personally, I wish they would have just had Japanese voice acting and just not had English voice acting, but apparently that was just too much to ask for, so we didn't get it. And I know they're desperately trying to get this game to get off the ground for Japanese people, but I mean, we really did not need, or at least I really did not need, they could have at least given us the option of a Japanese with subtitles. Like, I would have been fine with that. But whatever. I mean, I think this version could have done it, but whatever. We are talking about Yahoos. But with that being said, I guess we can get to the conclusion after the cut. So I guess now we can get to the review summary. Basically, this game is, a solid Dragon Quest game. It doesn't really do anything revolutionary. It doesn't really break the mold. And in some ways, it's kind of a step back for the franchise. No classes, no certain commands have been stripped or turned in or kind of put on automatic. The game's a little too easy. Even draconian mode is a little easy. You don't really the game doesn't really even start to even get slightly difficult until you start doing some of the challenges later on in the game. Basically, as long as you continue to railroad the shit out of your enemies and become more powerful, the game gets a little too goddamn easy. If you can get past that, you have a solid Dragon Quest game. Is it the best Dragon Quest game ever? Hell no. I would never say that. This game is pretty good, not the best. But it's a nice starter Dragon Quest game. Like if you haven't played a Dragon Quest game before, this is a nice little, I don't really play Dragon Quest games, but when I do, I play this one. If you haven't played a Dragon Quest game before, this is a nice starter. If you have played Dragon Quest games before, there's better things out there to play. Just saying that right now. There's Dragon Quest 8, Dragon Quest 9, Dragon Quest 6, 7, hell, even Dragon Quest 5. There's better ones out there than this one. But like I said, the quality of Dragon Quest games is, it doesn't go down. It stays a certain, there's a certain level of quality that's been consistent throughout the years. So you're not really losing much if you don't play this one or if you play the other one, So with that being said, this is a solid Dragon Quest game. Not perfect, but not the worst. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it a B. If I had to give it a numbered grade, I would give it an 87%. So that's a solid B. Nothing special. No one's gonna, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but you could definitely be better. So that's the game. That's my review of Dragon Quest XI. Notice this is a spoiler-free review, so I'm not going into the story or anything like that. I'm just telling you how I feel. We'll get to upcoming events after the cut. Okay then, so here's the upcoming events. In honor of this game, I will be doing on Sunday's BS Busters a more in-depth section about the game. It will be a little spoilery, but that's all right. Okay. And I'll talk about some other RPGs. Saturday, on the Sci-Fi Power Hour-ish, I'll be talking about, the panel will be talking about games that kind of are, how can I put this? Not games. We'll be talking about alternatives to Star Trek and Star Wars. Because I know a lot of people are like, you know, a lot of people, not a huge amount, but a decent amount of people are kind of burnt out on Star Trek and Star Wars. So I'm going to talk about some alternative science fiction genres that people can deal with that you know, aren't Star Trek and aren't Star Wars. Some of which are actually pretty damn good. So that'll be fun. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. You know, rate, comment, share, subscribe, and tell me what you think about Dragon Quest XI. If you have it, if you've played it, tell me if you like it, why you like it, all that fun jazz. If you don't like it, tell me why. Maybe ask some questions. Remember, if you leave questions in the comment section, they will be used in Sunday's BS Busters. So don't be afraid to do that. Peace.